What's going on, everybody? This is the number 14, episode 14 of the Apple Advisory. It's your host here, Mike Baker, and as always, got my host here, Mike Bennett. What's going on, bro?
What's going on, everybody? What's going on, Mike Baker?
Chilling, man.
You might be 1.0, man. I give that to you.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this since the 80s, man. I'm early 80s, baby. I mean, so man, what we do always is we bring you the latest and greatest, and the worst, and ain't nothing that rhymes with worse. I'm not a rapper, but basically we bring you the pros and cons of Apple and what's going on with the great overlord company. The trillionaire company one day, 800 millionaire company the next. Try to bring you, we critique it. We try to tell you everything that's going on about Apple and what things you should be worried about and what things you should be forewarned about as it comes to down the pipe for real. And what we got today for you is a couple of things. Number one is that a hacker found a way to take over any Apple webcam, whether it was a Apple iPhone or a Mac.
Snap! Somebody hacking Apple?
Yeah. Somebody's hacking Apple.
I'm being facetious.
Yeah, right. And by the way, if y'all look and see I'm choppy, if y'all looking at the video, I'm pretty choppy, but hopefully y'all can hear my audio pretty well. Next article that we will be talking about is Facebook and how they try to buy this controversial tool to spy on iPhone users, and the courts are filing for reveals. So the courts are aware of this, so they want to know more about what they were trying to get into. I don't think they actually did it, but I don't think they actually bought the company, but they still want to know what they were trying to buy.
Right.
And we'll talk about that a little bit more. And the last topic that we have is how Apple accidentally, I'm putting that in air quotes because more than likely they knew what they were doing. Because they like to leak the stuff, but Apple accidentally confirms the existence of an unreleased product, Apple Tags. We'll talk about their supposed leak and or how they accidentally did it, and what AirTags are in general. But yeah, the first topic that we have is that a hacker found a way to take over any Apple webcam, and this article is from Wired. And what basically happened was that, and actually it's been patched already. So if you don't have the update, you need to get the update. But basically, what happened was that somebody found a way to essentially use JavaScript on Safari, which had a known vulnerability. So if you're whether you're using Mac OS or you're using iOS, you have the Safari web browser on your Apple device. And there was a vulnerability in the Apple device that essentially allowed for it to run a website, run some JavaScript, and essentially open up your webcam. And, from that point, start recording. When you open a webcam, you can also open the microphone. So you can essentially take audio and video of whatever device opened up those functionalities or opened up that web page. They found out about it back in January, and they came up with a fix for it in March, and then it was released to the public. It's one of those things where they call them like zero-day exploits, where they know about it. You can't really say it's 0 day because they didn't put it out in the wild. Somebody found out about it. They tested it out there, and then they actually gave the information to Apple so that Apple could fix it. I think he actually did get paid for this. I think he actually got paid like $75,000. I don't know where I got. Yeah. He received $75,000 from Apple for the submission. So he did get paid for this. But he essentially let them know early, let them fix it, and now you just have to update it because now it's in the wild. So if you haven't updated your phone or your Mac OS device, you're basically vulnerable to this happening. It can potentially happen to you. But yeah, what were you saying, Mike, earlier? Apple has a vulnerability.
Yeah, that's saying that. I mean, I've always said with Apple, just from the olden days, they've always tried to tilt themselves around as like the unhackable or nothing. They're the most secure, and it seems like day after day. Maybe that's an exaggeration, but maybe it's not. The day after day, people are finding constant vulnerabilities with everything from Apple and its subsidiaries, like everything from people dealing with Apple iPhones, applications built by it goes, the list goes on and on. So I'm looking at this thing when it says so, like, I know that with web browsers it can be a little bit finicky as far as we're dealing with the internet here, but Safari, this is not the first time I've heard something about Safari having a serious vulnerability, and this is to the point where it says here that the person will be able to, whoever the hacker is, maybe they had they hacked you from getting one of those coronavirus map packages from Russia.
Yeah.
They got one of them. But it says here that it's something serious as they get control of, run a little bit of JavaScript and get control of your webcam and your speaker, which is for you to be able to get access to something like that. It goes to show that somebody, the least bit you can say, dropped the ball or just wasn't paying attention, because certain things like that, it's not something that you typically hear people like hacking or like maybe putting like an injection somewhere and like stealing some data, but getting complete control over a system, that's something you hear about in the movies.
Yeah.
So it's like, here's something like that, come down from $8 billion company. Maybe they look at themselves as an $8 trillion company. Whatever,
Yeah.
but $8 billion, $800 billion company.
Yeah.
And let me get that right. There's 2 zeros on that $800 billion company, and they're having issues like this. It just doesn't really speak well for what they're focusing on, because another thing with Apple is they always put themselves out there as I guess being somewhat customer centric, and for Safari to be their go-to browser. And again, with a lot of these devices, they don't allow the browser to be defaulted into anything else. They should be working their damnedest to make sure that there are no vulnerabilities and have some good quality assurance guys in there, some testers to really make sure this stuff is straight. But this goes to show that, one, they obviously don't care too much about quality assurance, the QA guys as much, like myself, because something like this I think could have been found. And then two, they're not as from my opinion, I don't think they're as customer centric if they're not focused on making their browser the most, not just the most friendly. So I don't even really like the Safari browser, but making it the most user friendly, and at the same time, for those who do use it, making sure that it's the most secure. Because I don't know what the heck I would do if somebody comes in and suddenly I think I'm doing something, and then my screen flashes, and now something, I start hearing somebody's voice coming from my laptop, and that just came from a simple JavaScript program that was run that people were able to get access to this. So they just need. It sounds like somebody was slacking. They need to do a better job.
I can give you I can give them a scenario for so somebody, you could run, like right now I have a couple tabs open. I tend to have multiple tabs open. I'm just thinking about my own security right now, but I can have a tab open, and like if I keep that tab open for like 10, 20, 30 minutes, it might be just an article that I'm reading, and 5 minutes pass. At 5 minutes, they could say, all right, now run this vulnerability where it's taking over my camera. And I'll have the tab running in the background, so I don't see it actually doing anything. But next thing I know, my camera's recording me, and it, like you said, they took over my speaker. I think, like I said, they take over the microphone. I might be wrong about that, but if they take over the microphone too, then they got everything I'm saying. They got everything that I'm doing. They can see me and all of that, and it's just a tab running in the background, and I don't know any better. And yeah, freaking Apple should definitely be on top of Safari, because a lot of people, like majority of the web is happening. Like the browsers are like the number one applications used nowadays. Like people still go back and forth and download a app in the app store. But when it comes to browsers, you don't even have to download them in the app store. They just come with every device that you got. So everybody got Safari if you got an iPhone, and everybody got Chrome if you got an Android. It's just how it comes. And you got to make sure that if you're going to have that tool running, that has to be secure. Since Safari has always been known as not being like the most advanced when it comes to web browsing. They tend to like limit a bunch of functionality instead of like being on the cutting edge. They usually wait a while before they add things in, and so you'll figure like if they're gonna be waiting and taking their time with adding in new features, they will add them in securely and like precisely so that where it's not getting these type of potential attacks happening. Like you don't hear this happening with Chrome.
You don't. Like, you never. Chrome is so good. Other people copy Chrome.
Yeah, exactly.
You never hear stuff like this with Chrome.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, what I think we were talking about earlier. Like when it comes to an update from Chrome, you don't really get a choice. They tell you that one is coming, and when you close Chrome, it's there. By the time you open it back up, you got the new one, and you didn't get asked. They ain't asked you no questions. It was just like, yo, we need to secure this, we need to update this, and this is what's happening. And that kind of needs to happen with Safari. Like even requiring people to go and get the latest update, they probably shouldn't even be required to. That should probably just be pushed to them. Because that's like security that they sometimes you got to protect people from themselves, and people gonna wait for the update. They're not gonna make an update unless they have to.
Right. They're only like them updates because they take 5 hours to do. But I think that, like you said, it should be something where to fix this issue ultimately is that the next time they should release something. And I know they have though, because companies do like ghost updates all the time. Right. It's not anything new. So like they can just push it where the next time somebody opens up a browser, it just sticks them to almost like what Chrome does a little bit. I know Chrome does it on the exit, but they can do it where it just opens it up and then it goes straight to updating. You know what I mean? They can't do anything. So that would just mitigate a lot of the issues that that Apple has been running into when it comes to their technologies, more specifically their software. Is just making it where the security is non-negotiable. But I don't know, maybe that's a part of their whole business thing, is that people have a choice as to, I don't know. It gets weird because security is the number one. I'm only thinking about not to take it too deep into there, but you got a lot of creeps out here to do weird things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So somebody taking control of the computer, and they got some kids using the computer or something like that.
Right.
Now, you know what I mean? Stuff like you got to think about stuff like that. So I don't know. They just dropped the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just gotta be more secure about just their software in general. They can't play about software. They can't just be about making and selling up a hardware device. Like we just got the phone, and here's the phone. Just buy the phone. Like you gotta make sure that thing actually got some other stuff to it.
It's an iPhone. Buy it. It'll make you popular.
Let's try this again. My phone's ringing again. Let's do a cancel.
Nah.
I'm able to stop it from here. This is the second time, ladies and gentlemen. This is the second time Google Duo has rung on both my phone and my Google Home, but we'll talk about that. I'm not going to edit it out, but we're just going to deal with it. But yeah.
Keep it rolling.
Yeah, on that job, let's go to the next joint. Facebook has tried, this is an Apple topic, but it's about how Facebook tried to do it. Facebook tried to buy a controversial tool to spy on Apple or iPhone users, and court is filing a reveal. Basically, court is they want to know more about what they were trying to buy. But basically, what it was is that there's a company, I want to say Anovo Protects, which is I think the overall company is called Anovo. But there was a piece of software called Anovo Protects that Facebook was essentially trying to buy. So I want to say about 6 months ago, back, it's beyond 6 months, like back in the summer sometime, Facebook had got caught for using this software where they were using it as a measuring tool for how people use their devices. And they were saying that they were incentivizing people to install this app on your phone where they will like give you like credits or rewards and stuff like that, where you install the app on your phone and it tracks your usage on the phone overall. They don't talk specifically about what the usage is. They just say, we're going to monitor your usage on here. We'll give you stuff for it if you answer questions and stuff like that. Sort of like a survey tool. But what they didn't really let you know is that it's what it was monitoring was all these other things like, what apps you were using, how much time you spent on the other apps that weren't Facebook. And like, the transition time that it takes, because really what they want to know is the transition time that it takes to get from whatever app you was using back to Facebook. So like, all right, well, how long you been on Snapchat? Well, what made you go back from Snapchat to Instagram? Well, how long you spending on Instagram? How long it take you to go from Instagram to TikTok or something like that? And then all this other stuff in between. And that was the thing, was that there was a whole bunch of other things in between that that they really were collecting out of that application. And the Sonova Protect software was an extension of that. They were going to use this along with it. It says down here that it was part of some Pegasus hacking tool that was being used. And what they were essentially trying to do, based on this article and based on what I know from the other articles that I read, is that they were essentially trying to get this auditing tool. When it comes to like security, there's a fine line between a security tool, a auditing for security tool, and then a hacker tool. I mean, like this, because it's sort of like the thin line between a cop and a robber. Like there's a criminal, and then there's a cop. There's a cop who has to learn all the things that a criminal knows. I mean, so like, but he's doing it for the positives, supposedly. And then it's the same way with these security and audit tools, where there's all these hacker vulnerabilities, there's all these things that hackers can do to get into and compromise a system. And then there's these tools that do hacker-like things to be able to protect you from potentially getting hacked. And when you buy something like that, or when you put that type of software on your computer, essentially it does take over your computer in a way. It puts checks and balances at every corner for
everything.
Yeah, like if you go into an office and it's like when you go to the airport and there's a TSI, like the TSA, there's a check once you get to this point, then there's a check once you get to this point, and every
walk
point
through the metal detector, and then you gotta get your bags checked. Man, I fly too much. Not know, bro. Like it's crazy because I think that analogy you use about the cops not knowing is so true, because I actually went through that, man. I mean, it's probably not IT related, but I remember I got pulled over. I think my tag's about to expire on like an exact date, and the cop pulled me over talking about something. Yeah, your car expired. I'm like, hold on, nah, like it doesn't. The way it works is it doesn't have the full date on there. So, but long story short, he was basically, I had to educate him on how to be, thorough in what his occupation was, man. And that's exactly what it's like, man. Is that when it almost seems like so many times it's like the pot seems like it's trying to call the kettle black, like not understanding. Yeah. I'm looking at this article, man. I wish that people was able to see Mark Zuckerberg's face, because he just looks like he got caught. You know what I mean? Like he looks like, oh snap. And yeah, I know there's other things in place. I know he has. It's not always him, but it does speak to what he is allowing the company to become. I know the Facebook, is great for what they, the service they provide for us being able to connect, but it's too much stuff going on. Like it says here, they tried to go in and like they did to get the spy rated cloak and a VPN and all that stuff. It gets crazy.
Right.
So I'm sitting here. The question I have is, why is it that Facebook is trying to do all these things? Like, what is the motive? What is there to gain by spying on iPhone users?
Yeah, I think part of it is that they're not as organized as they, presume to be. They got a lot of money, but they're not all organized unit. Government, larger companies that have been around for like 20 years, and people and companies that just take themselves seriously as corporations, they do balances and checks on their staff and what needs to be done so that they aren't crossing lines. And Facebook, I don't think they check on their people often enough. And when it comes to projects that come out, I feel like they just, they let the team, the little team of however many 10, 20 developers that are going to work on that little project. I feel like they let them go ahead and run gambit on it, and then they let them come out with some other application or whatever. And then next thing they know, a couple months later, they find out, oh, this app was spying on you and doing like 10, 20 things that it wasn't supposed to be doing. And it was like, yeah, that could have been checked if y'all actually paid attention to what your employees are doing. And
it show up, and then that person, a couple months later, has all the money in their bank account missing.
Yeah, and at that point, it's too late. Like y'all got way. It's like you got way too much power to be making like childish moves at this point. Like when you got like one going on 2 billion users on a regular basis, and you're like the central nerve for communication when it comes to the internet. It's one of those things where you got to pay more attention to how your staff is actually presenting themselves as part of Facebook, because anything that you do is going to be scrutinized. And I mean, they're at the point now, they're seeing a lot of it because they keep having to go to court every other day. Like every other week is some new reason why Facebook got to go to court and why they got to explain themselves and what they've been doing, because they not acting right as a unit, as a unit of Facebook. They really aren't that. They really see themselves as being like a decentralized set of systems. That's why there's so many different parts of Facebook managed in so many different places. And then they just sort of tie it all back to one Facebook somehow, but it's not. It's so many small units that it's hard to keep it all organized.
Right. I mean, I think that see, you said it the best way right there as far as them being decentralized is that I think that it's possible, but again, with where they are right now, I tend to see stuff like that work with companies who are driven by like professionalism, right? Like driven with doing something with the industry, like with the government, something like that. Not too much like private sector stuff. But then, like I think with Facebook, be it that they are like heavily consumer driven, it kind of opens up the door to these type of things, because they don't have to worry about immediately if something gets exposed, how much that's going to cost a company.
Right. And I mean, they paying for it. They're paying for it. So I mean, I can't be mad. I'm kind of happy that all this stuff is happening to them. Every other week when they get caught up in some regulation thing, I know it's really to my benefit in some form or factor. It's just really about keeping the citizens of Facebook, the people that are just using it, don't have no money invested into it. Because we are essentially, our data is the thing that they're mining, and that's the stuff that they making money off of. It's to our benefit whenever they get caught up in any type of regulation or court dealings or whatever, where they have to talk their way out of it and potentially change how they do business. So I'm with it. I'm for it. Last topic. Apple is, they're doing something. Apple accidentally confirmed the existence of an unreleased product, this AirTag product. They basically came out with these instructions, talking about a couple of updates that they were going to be coming out with the new update to Apple iOS. And they went through some instructions on the back end for the settings. Like, these are where the new settings are going to be. This is how you do this thing here. This is how you cut off this feature here. This is how you do this thing. And in part of the instruction set, they were talking about the Find My iPhone features and how to turn on Find My iPhone, how to turn it off. And they had another functionality in there called Enable Offline Finding. And how to cut that on and off. And under that, there was a description for Enable Offline Finding. And in the description for that, they talked about how you can use this offline finding feature to find devices and AirTags. And this is, I guess, the first official announcement for the AirTags. A lot of stuff has been rumored for a while. You know, the rumor mill runs wild in the media circuit. So like, they've talked about Apple coming out with like pod like devices that you put on something and allow you to track where it's located in the world. But this leak that they did, I don't really consider this a leak. I think Apple did this on purpose, and then they wanted somebody to find it. But this leak lets them know now that they are officially going to be coming out with these AirTags. And a part of this was, I think, talked about when they because they also had the leak about the Air Key or some shit when they were talking about coming out with a key for the car, for your car, using your iPhone to be able to get into your car. And part of that leak showed the AirTags going to be in there as well. So now there's just like official announcement saying that, yeah, they're going to be doing this and adding AirTags in there. But how you feel about this, Mike?
I'll say, why do you feel? I was gonna ask, why do you feel like they were trying to hide it? Now, I feel like I'm calling BS on them trying to hide this. But why do you feel like they were trying to hide this from the people?
I feel like they aren't trying to announce. I think they want to announce it in a particular way. Usually, every product that they come out with, they make a keynote announcement about. Every single product, and part of that announcement is actually, you know, the presentation. Presentation is key for them, where you only got one time to present, and you got to be able to shine in that one moment. And they've probably been holding off on how they're going to release this, because part of it is it's world tracking. It's basically being able to, you know, all of the spy movies where somebody puts a GPS tracker in your back pocket, or, you know, they give you a hug and they put a tracker in your pocket or some shit, or like they put a tracker under your car. Like all of those theories that's what these AirTags essentially be able to do. You got this little device, this little thing that's like a quarter, like maybe a 50-cent piece. You put it on something, and you're basically able to track it around the world. And I figure when they actually released this technology, they wanted to make sure that they have a global presence to be able to find these things anywhere in the world. So, you know, that requires actually setting up the back end and all that stuff, because they got to have a cloud. They got to have a cloud service. They got to have like some software as a service where once you have these things activated, you can drop them somewhere and you can look them up on a website or something to be able to find them, or on your phone to be able to find them. So, I mean, I figured they wanted to keep this all secret until they were able to present it in full. But, you know, these journalists are detectives on the weekend. Yeah.
I think that here, man, looking at this, it just proves that Apple has some shaping up to do. Because even if this was a marketing ploy, I don't think it's good. Because for one, with them, it's kind of getting old, and then two, with something that is supposed to be beneficial like this, in some way, it doesn't need to be something that's being hidden. I liken it to what Microsoft is doing. Like everybody knows for a long period of time, Microsoft, you know, I don't know why I'm talking about Microsoft on Apple. This is kind of how it goes, right?
I mean, they the number one competitors to them for real.
Right. But they don't seem to have any, like, be up to any trickery or anything like that. And I feel like this is another gimmick. Whenever I hear stuff about Apple accidentally confirms this, or like, oops, this is more so I think they're trying to be gimmicky with the people, let them know that, like, oh, we got a whole lot more stuff in store, but we just ain't telling you. And I would say that them being upfront will be a lot better than what they're doing right now.
Yeah. And I mean, one of the main things that they arguing about with this is that is going to compete with the company Tile. Tile has been out here doing their thing for a little while now with the same exact devices, essentially. These little Tile things that are like, you can put them on a keychain, you can put them on in a book bag, you can put them in your shoes if you tend to lose your left shoe all the time. I mean, and be able to track where that thing is when you happen to misplace it, or if somebody stole it or whatever. Um,
I see in an
and
article here, it says that, oh, my bad, bro. I was going to say, I see in
no,
an article where it's talking about how it's supposed to be like, so if you read, you guys will see this in the, the write up and stuff like that. But it talks about how it's like they're doing things it's just like tile. And I think that kind of aids into why they didn't really disclose things, because if there's something that they were copying per se, there's a lot of reasons as to why that wouldn't work for them, because they put themselves in potentially getting sued, as well as it's not doing as well because the idea has kind of already been fleshed out. Like I said, conceptually it makes sense, because I know I'll be losing a lot of shit, but it's something where it could be the marketing around it could be executed differently, because this is not something that it's like a small thing.
Yeah, that's why it's kind of hard to say whether it's a release, like whether it's a leak, like an intentional leak, or if they really did accidentally leak this information out, because they very well could have been trying to really hide it and wait till they actually had a keynote to talk about it. Probably one of these keynotes that they canceled because of this whole Corona thing. They probably was going to announce this earlier, and they just been holding off for a while. But yeah, like Tile has been doing it for a while, and it's always been it's been a third party tool, so it's kind of hard to implement certain things in certain ways. Like, say you wanted to find your laptop, or your laptop was stolen, it's kind of hard to be able to add a tile to your laptop per se. And what Apple would essentially be offering is, well, this will also allow you to find your laptop. Essentially, you would they would more than likely put GPS in their laptops, so that you can find your laptop like you can find anything else. And that's an area that Tile can't necessarily do, and that's when they start talking about antitrust, where Apple basically they position themselves in a way where they can essentially take anybody's new technology. They can take a company like Tile and take all the technology that they have, and they basically will put Tile out of business. And that's Tile. I think Tile is actually either in the works of pulling a suit out, or already are communicating with somebody else that's already got a suit for them for antitrust, because they got antitrust suits everywhere already. So
they're gonna get their cake regardless.
Yeah, they plan on getting this because they already know, and Apple already know, like, what company are we going to destroy if we come out with this Tile. You know, ain't no other company that's doing this, that's doing it like this. There's a couple of companies that have these features, but Tile is the number one that's out there. So if it kills Tile, it's going to kill all the other ones that's below it. So I mean, unless it's one of those things where Tile can work with it, where it's like you have the AirTag, and then if you hop into the AirTag API, then you can create your own version of the thing, and that's what they'll probably do. Where Tile end up having to work with AirTags and work with Apple directly, in order so that they don't die. But nonetheless, it still eats away at Tile's bottom line.
For sure.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, man, I think that's it for the Apple news today. If you guys like the show, we got to tell you to do the damn thing. Go ahead, like, subscribe, share, comment. Number one thing is to subscribe and to follow. Even if some of y'all might be anti-social, so y'all don't want to comment and all that stuff, share and all that stuff. But subscribe and follow so that we can at least collect your numbers. I can see people that are downloading the shows. I can see people that are watching the videos, but it's good to get concrete numbers of people that are repeats, like, repeatedly coming back. So go ahead and do those things. That gives us better numbers to work with. As always, y'all can find us on all the streaming services. So videos, YouTube, Facebook, any of your podcasting services, iTunes, Apple, Android, all of that stuff. And stay tuned for more stuff, because we got stuff coming for y'all, especially since we in the season of remote everything.
Yeah.
Got anything, Mike?
Yeah, nah, you had everything on the head, man. Y'all know the deal. Like, comment, subscribe, follow us on all the social medias, man. And pray for Apple, because it seemed like it ain't. It's funny because I was chilling with my girl, and she just randomly, I seen an Apple TV commercial. It's like, oh, snap.
Yeah.
I seen an Apple TV commercial, and she's like, oh, we got to get that. And I'm like, Only if you was listening to the podcast, you save yourself that $4.99. They're the ones they say $4.99 monthly, but they charge you for the whole hour or something like that.
Yeah.
So don't even waste your time, folks. Don't be like her. But other than that, man,
be
like
informed.
There you go. Be informed. Don't be look, it's better for you to be, if you don't know, that's good. But if you do think you know something, then it's gonna be difficult for you.
Look at it this way, this information is free. So if you don't take the free information, then we can't help you when it comes to that paid stuff, man.
There you go.
We'll start charging you.
That's all I got, Mike.
But yeah, man, y'all be safe out there and keep your heads up. Just be optimistic about what's going on. Y'all take it easy out there.
Peace.
Peace.